Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to round 9 of the 939 Corse Touring Car Championship here. As we see, Steve Knight, we're on board with him to kick things off here at Macau with a slight bit of understeer towards the end of the lap. We are underway, however, and what a race this should be. It is great to be back in the commentary box. Apologies, we have had a little break from streaming, but it was good to say. Good to see that I am once again able to talk utter nonsense over some fantastic racing as we are on board here with Rosie Hodson. Rosie Hodson actually on the medium compound tyre in this qualifying session here at Macau. Now, Macau, a very interesting one, of course, to be visiting in a touring car. Obviously, for those of you who are only really tuning into the modern kind of running of the Macau GP circuit, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. Of course, it's a much more infamous for junior Formula Series running. So it's very interesting to see these classic touring cars once again here around the streets here in the eastern part of the globe, of course. I should mention, actually, a very technical circuit, and this has been catching a few drivers out. Drivers warning that immense amount of practice required in order to get the car around the lap here as we're on board with Rosie Hodson. A couple of small collisions with the wall there. That means that this lap is probably not going to be the utmost in terms of pace on board at the moment with John Cole, of course, has to be given his pace so far this year. Favourite for the racing this evening, although don't count anything out given how this circuit has been looking so far for these drivers. Alan Matthews makes some good progress there. We might be a little bit quieter, not quite as commentated upon this evening, should I say, and I do apologise for that. Unfortunately, my voice is deciding to give in. It's picked a perfect moment for one of the most exciting and possibly chaotic evenings of the season. Unfortunately, my voice not quite at its peak performance. So, we're getting on board now with Matt Daly as we have a quick look at this circuit. So, it is a very technical indeed. You have the run from the start-finish straight all the way down to the Hotel Lisboa corner, of course. Hotel Lisboa, a very infamous building and a very recognisable piece of the architecture in Macau. And then the corner names all start to get a little bit weird as the track gets more and more technical. You've got corners likes of Maternity, Solitude S's, and Police. That's a good corner. And then you have some more unpronounceable ones, and then you have the Donna Maria corner heading into the hairpin. And this hairpin, called the Melgo hairpin, will make the hairpin at the Monaco Grand Prix circuit look like an 8-lane interstate in America. To be honest, it is so tight and twisty. As you may have saw John Cole navigating it just a lap ago. It is, I can't believe it we see modern Formula cars head around it, because it is just so tight. And the drivers really have to be careful, especially if they do possibly end up too wide through there, which would be very interesting to see if that is the case. But there's going to be plenty of collisions this evening. So that is one of the more technical parts of the circuit. And then that runs all the way down to the start-finish straight once again, where it's not much of a straight, but it is very high speed in comparison to the rest of the lap. And it is a long lap here at Macau. 2 minutes 39 is our current provisional pole time by John Cole, and he is seconds clear of the rest of the field at this point in time. We're on board with the Matt Daly. He's predicted. Good to see our prediction graphics back. I hope you're liking the new holding graphics as well, by the way. They're still a work in progress, but I'm liking them so far. And we're predicted a 3 minute 6 lap for Matt Daly at this point in time. So, getting that one clean lap in is going to make all the difference here in qualifying. We've only got a few minutes left, of course, and that means there's only a couple more attempts left for a quick lap here in Macau. And so far, John Cole looking very comfortable indeed. Jack Hodson, Alan Matthews, and Rosie Hodson are enjoying a bit of a battle at this point in time. Alan Matthews has jumped onto the medium as well. Of course, it is quite a long lap, and although there's not too many high-speed corners, those tyres are going to be worked quite hard through some of the more technical parts, and that could see the soft compound of tyre struggling, and I imagine we might not see too much of it here in the racing, and I imagine that is why we're seeing the use of the medium compound tyre with limited time left, and with such a long lap, drivers need to have every single second they can out on track, not inside the pit lane. Matt Daly, though, we were thinking a predicted 3 minute lap. That was a 2 minute 28.3 from Matt Daly this time around. That is a fantastic effort here in Macau, and he's looking quicker still if he can keep it clean. So we may stay on board with him and see how the lap goes. And unfortunately, it does not go very well at all, and that is a rather devastating end to qualifying for him. Well, maybe not just the end just yet. We've still got 5 minutes to go. However, we're going to go back on board with John Cole, his nearest rival, and see how he is faring in this race. Not this race, sorry, this qualifying session. Apologies for the mouse which is currently displayed on screen. Trying to rectify that, but it's been an odd week from technology-wise. I've had to get a new graphics card, get a new hard drive, and there's going to be a few more components needed for John Cole's card there. And a new Windows install as well, which meant that all of my settings have completely disappeared and vanished, so it's been a complete fresh start once again. However, on board with Jack Hodson at this point in time, 2 minute 44 was his best lap. Matt Daly beating John Cole by 2 minute 39 there, and we have just a few minutes to go in this qualifying session, so we'll join back in with the action in just a couple of minutes. So then, just 40 seconds left on the timer. We still have Matt Daly on provisional pole at this point in time. He is still leading this session on the soft compound tower. John Cole currently not out on track, so John Cole deciding that's all that he can do in this session. So things looking good for Matt Daly at this point in time. should mention as well, actually, that this is currently a personal best for Matt Daly as well. Losing out a little bit of time through the second sector, where Will Inglis has made some time. But Sector 1 at 49.8, the first car into the 49s in this session, so that is purple, of course. 10 seconds ago now, Will Inglis is heading around that final corner, so we'll jump on board with him as he does. So what's it going to be for him as he comes across line? It's going to be in the 40s for Will Inglis, and that is P3, so second row on the grid for Will Inglis. That could be very important here at Macau, of course. Certainly nothing to stick your nose up at here at Macau, with plenty of mistakes likely to be made. You can never know. The second row could soon find you in a very high point scoring position indeed. Third place for Will Inglis in this session then. That sees a 2-minute 43, and across the line comes Matt Daly. He finishes with a 2-minute 38.0 here. Won't get another lap in, fortunately for him. That is the end of his running. Then we have Jack Hodson, 2-minute 44.9 at this point in time, losing some time, so I believe this is an outlap, and there's a contact with the wall as well, so that brings an end to his qualifying. Now we go on board with Alan Matthews, our last competitor really in this session. A 2-minute 45.8 to beat, and that is a contact with the wall there. Will it be enough to rule him out, though? We wait and see with bated breath as we head around those final couple of right-handers now. It is the... I'm not even going to try to pronounce... Oh no, it's Fish... I can pronounce that Fisherman's Corner, of course. It's just... I always like to, play it safe when it comes to pronunciations at some circuits, but we head round now the final corner with Alan Matthews here. It hasn't been an electric lap for him so far. Let's see what he can do with the remaining time that he has. A 2-minute 45.8 to beat, and it will be a 2-minute 46.6 from that previous lap, unfortunately for him. So that brings an end to qualifying here at Macau. Unless we have a bit of a glitch with Jack Hodson's car there. I think there were just one too many pieces of contact with the wall there, unfortunately for him. That brings an end to his running then. So it is Matt Daly on pole, John Cole rounding out the front row of the grid, and Will Inglis, Jack Hodson on the second row as well. So we'll catch you in just a few minutes for race 1 here at Macau. Just thought I'd interrupt the break there, just to very briefly mention, unfortunately didn't catch it on screen, but Matt Daly, very eager to get out on track there. He was already leaving the pit lane before we had the small session swap. So we saw you there, Matt. Just give that one a quick mention. Right, we'll see you in just a couple of minutes. And we are away, ladies and gentlemen. As we see Matt Daly heading down into that first corner now. He gets a good start actually with John Corse behind Willingliss, not too far behind them, but it is very much a battle between the front row there as we head down towards the first corner. In fact, everyone getting a relatively clean getaway, so well done everyone there as we make our long run down towards the Lisboa right-hander, as that is Rosie Houghton in the wall and off the track. This track already showing its unforgiving nature. Rosie Houghton, Guy Swarbrick, the first victims of the track here in Macau, as John Cole, Matt Daly now side by side, as we have, I believe, a little bit of contact, not too much to worry about though, as they are trading paint, trying to get that overtake done. And now we run up towards the more mountainous parts of this venue. Isn't this a much more exciting place to go racing than somewhere like, I don't know, somewhere else beginning with M? I couldn't possibly comment on which one. As we have a little bit of understeer creeping in for John Cole. Actually, this track here has so many cambers and changes and such kind of technicalities like that. It seems to really capture drivers and the cars out. It seems to really test them to their absolute limit. It is a very interesting mix of car and track combo here, as we have Matt Daly getting that great getaway on the medium compound of tyre, actually, as we see Willingliss also suffering from the understeer. But Matt Daly on that medium compound tyre gets a good getaway, is still is still battling it out, let's not forget, but is looking very poised for a good finish here in Macau indeed, as we have the back end on John Cole's car. Of course, that is a more typical handling characteristic that we've seen from this 155, but a great getaway still for Matt Daly. That medium compound tyre controlling the race with plenty of tyre to play with. It's looking good for him so far in this race. John Cole keeping runners at the moment, 7/10 of a second, and they are broken away by a couple of seconds now to Willingliss down in P3, Alan Matthews in P4, and then we have a small wait for the rest of the field. The rest of the field, I believe, involved in some type of incident. Of course, 8 cars on the road. Everyone will be coming away with points, so we'll have a look at the points scoreboard after a little minute here. But we're heading now down through that very tight right-hand hairpin. Makes Monaco, as I said, look like an absolute cakewalk before we have another high-speed run down through the start-finish straight, if you can call it that, once again. Willingliss currently in P3, about 8/10 clear of Alan Matthews, so doing a good job of controlling this battle for the moment. These two as well also have that very handy reference of those two cars up in front for now. They might not see them through the more twisty parts of the circuit, but as they get into that start-finish straight lap by lap, they can see as they start a new lap how they're running in comparison to those front runners there, so it's very handy indeed. Jack Hodson a few seconds behind, but struggling with some damage on the car. Of course, we will be picking up damage in this one, and with plenty of collisions with the wall so far, that certainly won't be helping things out. But we have Matt Daly still leading this race at this point in time, 1.2 seconds down to P2 now. Very good running for him so far in this race. Of course, we are now 2/3 of the way through this championship, so let's have a look at how that championship is looking. It is very close indeed for the front. Now, a good run through the mid-season for Matt Daly has seen him catch right back up to John Cole now. Now, John Cole still in the lead with 257 points to his name, and then we have Matt Daly, 243. And we have Alan Matthews, top of the midfield, it must be said, or breaking away somewhat from the midfield, actually, in third with 195 points to his name. Then we have the two 939 Corse cars. Nathan Birch actually leading the 939 Corse cars there, 166 points to his name in P4. Then we have Greg Young in P5 with 114 points. Now look at how much John Cole has been able to close up that gap to Matt Daly here at Macau. Those soft compound tires clearly at the start of the race working well, allowing him to make a bit of headway down towards Matt Daly. Now that gap does expand ever so slightly, but we'll have a look at their setup, see how the cars are comparing through different parts of the lap to figure out who is going to be coming out on top in certain bits of the lap, where the overtaking opportunities are, because I can tell you they are very few and far between here at Macau, as you have to run wide into that entry into the hairpin, of course, because you've got to try and get the car rotated in order to make that very tight angle of attack here for this corner. In P6, going back to the championship, in P6 it's Will Inglis with 101 points. Then we have Paul Brady, P7, 89. He's ran very well indeed, has Paul Brady. George Brook-Batsby, unfortunately, not been able to make every round. Still 70 points on the board despite that, so good effort from him. Then we have Jack Hodson, P10, 64 points. We actually have 19 classified pro runners. And then if we have a look at the AM running, we have Rosie Hodson in the lead with 249 at the moment. So a very close battle going on at the top of the Pro Championship at this point in time. In terms of the speed traps, then let's have a look at those. I can tell you it is John Cole who's gone for that high speed setup, and we're seeing the benefit of that through that first sector. It is John Cole who holds the fastest purple sector, that fastest first sector. The 50.1 for John Cole, and that is a 50.3 for Matt Daly, as Rosie Hodson appears to have had a fairly substantial incident there, as has John Cole, just clipping a wall there. Doesn't want to replicate that too many times. And potentially that soft compound tire also helping John Cole out in that second sector as well. However, the third sector, where things get really tight and twisty, John Cole wins out. Oh, sorry, Matt Daly wins out. And through that first sector the first time around, as Matt Daly actually makes contact with a wall there, is John Cole has just posted his first 49 through that first sector. So it's clearly a lower aero setup on John Cole's car. That will be giving him more confidence, more of a benefit down those straight parts of the lap. But as we get to the really twisty stuff around about here in the lap, Matt Daly is able to claw it back. Oh dear, and as we can see, Will and Gliss, Alan Matthews, Jack Hodson getting caught out. There's an incident on track. I believe that was Jack Hodson potentially going off his own accord. I'm not quite sure, unfortunately. We were on board with John Cole as that occurred. But just goes to show that very tight hairpin part of the lap there, very easy to catch yourselves out because there's nothing the other drivers can do to get away past or come to a stop or avoid that incident. So it is a very narrow part of the circuit, and that is going to catch a few drivers out, and especially in these relatively large touring cars. It's going to be very interesting to see indeed. As we're still on board now, it looks to be that Alan Matthews has had further issues, now dropping back behind Steve Knight as well. So it's clearly a little bit of a chaotic force. I do apologise once again for the slightly, subdued level of commentary here in this session so far, as Jack Hodson has a small issue that slides into wall but is able to carry on. Unfortunately, my voice slightly under the weather and my voice is slightly giving in. So going to keep that stream going, and I'm going to be talking as much as I can. Just look at the amount of damage on the front suspension of Jack Hodson's car there. Actually improving on his previous lap, but is clearly dealing with a lot of damage there. The steering column clearly not in its most healthy condition there. The steering wheel actually pointing a bit to the left, but is just about able to navigate these very twisty streets. However, I don't envy him. A very impressive feat to see him bring this car round a very tight and technical lap at speed with steering issues like that. as we see heading through. A battle going on between Alan Matthews and Rosie Hodson as we jump on board. We know Alan Matthews had some good pace underneath him, of course, through qualifying. Rosie Hodson potentially struggling just a little bit through some of the more technical parts of the lap. We do, however, have a small advantage in Rosie Hodson's favour. She's on the soft compound tyre, whereas Alan Matthews on that medium compound. We are back now onto that start-finish straight, and we're going to see who comes out on top in terms of that straight line performance now. It's looking like Rosie Hodson able to keep Alan Matthews at bay at this point in time. As we cross onto that start finish straight now, Alan Matthews diving into that slipstream. Of course, slipstream maybe not quite as powerful as you'd expect in something like a Formula car, however, certainly is beneficial still as we go side by side now. Alan Matthews going particularly brave around the left-hander and is now side by side with Rosie Hodson and should in fact get the nose out in front and does get ahead of Rosie Hodson. 10 minutes to go in this race. Rosie actually having an issue around the right-hander, trying to keep it around, trying to potentially replicate that move of Alan Matthews. Unfortunately, it does not go her way, and she has to dive in, then settle for P6 at this point in time. Just want to give mention to Alan Matthews there. A fantastic slide through that long right-hander there. Well held through the penultimate corner of the lap. So as we enter the final 20 seconds of this race now, has been an impressive chart from Matt Daly. Fears as we're heading into this weekend about keeping the nose clean, just how technical, how difficult this track is. However, Matt Daly has, after a good challenge from John Cole at the start, has very much been in control of this race. I think those medium compound tyres working so well, allowing him to run without really having to focus on much else other than keeping that nose out of the wall there. We have hit 0 seconds on the timer now. This is the penultimate lap of this race, and I'm sure all the drivers involved will be quite pleased to see that and get ready for the reverse grid race coming up in just a few moments' time. So we'll watch as Matt Daly navigates the final few corners of Macau for one of the last times here in race 1. Here we are then, Matt Daly heading down towards that start-finish line in just a few moments' time. There's that final corner now of this lap to negotiate, and we should have one more lap of running here at Macau. It will be a bit of a parade lap for him, has no major threat at all really to deal with for one last lap here at Macau. Watching Matt Daly negotiate that hairpin for one last time here in race 1 at Macau. It has been a dominant race for him, really cementing his charge to try and claw back that championship. We are 2/3 into the championship, of course, but still all to play for. Only 14 or so points separating them at this stage. A small twitch of oversteer as he heads into that penultimate corner now. We watch as Matt Daly has just one last corner to negotiate here at the Macau circuit. And again, small step out of oversteer, but it has been a great race for Matt Daly. He takes the race 1 victory. Congratulations, Matt Daly. Fantastic charge. No major challenge really for most of that race, and it was a difficult task, but he rose to it, and it is Matt Daly who takes the race 1 victory. Not to be outdone, of course, just a couple of corners to go now for John Cole, sliding as he does so. Those soft compound tires, I'm sure, not entirely happy at this stage in the race, but it will be John Cole who comes home in just a few moments' time to take P2 in this race. I'm sure he would have preferred the victory, but still a good showing for John Cole here. A good number of points to help in this championship charge. It is P2 for John Cole. And then we have a little wait to Willingless. Willingless has a good race. Has had a good race, rather, in race 1 here at Macau. Has been able to climb the order just that little bit. In fact, has he? No, he hasn't. It's been it was a good qualifier, of course, towards the end of the session. There finds himself on the second row of the grid and remains there as we come across the line there. So the front runners in this race really putting on a great show, showing why they're doing so well in the championship as we enter that final corner now for Willingless. It has been a difficult race for the drivers, of course. Quite separated out the field in the end, just goes to show just how complicated this circuit is in nature. But that is Willingless coming home to round up the podium in P3, and just heading round that final corner onto that start-finish straight, it is Jack Houghton. He'll be wanting to get underway quite quickly because I believe Rosie Houghton just going out of that hairpin. So Jack looking to be safe at this point in time. It is Jack Houghton who comes home P4 in the end, as Rosie is navigating that hairpin now. So that's it for the commentary in race 1. I apologise as it has been a very quiet session, but we will watch as the final few drivers come home now, and we'll get ready to jump into race 2, the reverse grid race, coming up in just a few moments' time. Just about ready to go here then for race 2 of the round 9 here at Macau, and it should be an interesting start, of course. The reverse good race in full action. Slow start for Rosie Hodson, then a great start for Alan Matthews and Steve Knight. However, though, Alan Matthews jumping up into P2, Jack Hodson dropping back as well. Actually made contact with a wall there. Not a great start to the race for him. John Cole edging out in front of Matt Daly, of course, as does Will Inglis. Of course, John Cole running nicely down towards the first big corner then. Steve Knight playing it safe, of course, always a good option here at Macau, as it turns out to be. But a great start for Alan Matthews here, breaking away from the rest of the field already here in race 2. As you can see, a small amount of oversteer potentially. No, it looks like John Cole is running very well indeed. He is making a good getaway here, but will be under pressure from John Cole in just a moment's time. Will Inglis actually still opting for that soft compound tyre, the only one of the front runners to do so. Most of the field, in fact, now on that medium compound tyre, with Gijs Robic opting for the hard. So he, I imagine, is looking to try an alternate strategy in this race, maybe hoping that later on that extra grip can benefit him. We've seen this car does like to use its tyres quite a lot. Of course, it is a slightly older compound, and here we now have John Cole catching up to Alan Matthews, and apologies for the small issue there. We'll get that resolved as soon as possible. That is a big off for Rosie Hodson there. Carry on now as we see John Cole. It is now John Cole who leads this race. Matt Daly, we've seen this one before. Let's see how they fare this time round. And with Rosie Hodson in P3. So great progress for the field for Rosie this time around. Let's see how she competes against Will Inglis here as we head down towards the end of the lap, and we can see Matt Daly now getting ahead of John Cole this time round. Oh dear, as we have a big incident now, and it is John Cole, one of our race leaders, falling, unfortunately, to some errors at the hairpin. Now that has made him drop back from Martin Daly to the tune of about 15 seconds, but more importantly for the other competitors, and through no real fault of John Cole's, really, obviously it was him who span out, but obviously it's not down to him just how difficult of a place it is to try and rejoin the track there. None of the other competitors could get around now, so it is still John Cole in P2. Willing Gliss, Rosie Houghton bunched back up, and they're not too far behind at all. Steve Knight and Alan Matthews. Alan Matthews, in fact, having a look down the inside as we head through that penultimate corner and is ready to get the overtake done. Has the inside, gets the nose out in front already, up into P5 for Alan Matthews. I imagine he'll be trying to make his way past Rosie Houghton and Willing Gliss if possible. Willing Gliss very much focused on what is going on with John Cole instead. Willing Gliss probably in a slightly better condition in this point in the race. Soft compound time, maybe still having a grip advantage, but more importantly perhaps car in better condition owing to a distinct lack of incident there. So it is John Cole still in P2 for this point in time, but this has made the race just oh so easier for Matt Daly now.